Take your time, you just finish getting your last bit of coffee and some muffins. Settle in. We'll be here for the first half of our day here. I just want to say hello and good morning. I'm Julie Collins, the Associate Director of Graduate Admission and Financial Aid here at the Medill School. So happy to see all of you all here. This is one of our favorite days of the year. I think between a middays, orientation, and graduation, those are like the 3 days that we truly, truly love here. I will have to say, being in admissions, it's great to see so many of you all here. I know from my colleagues who've interviewed applicants and met you at grad fairs or conferences or information sessions, are also very glad that you all are here. Again, you're going to have a great day today and tomorrow. You'll get the chance to have an in-depth understanding of our curriculum by our faculty and staff. You get a chance to meet our brilliant faculty members that are here. You also get a chance to meet some of the staff. Before we go much further though, I do want to introduce you to some of our staff members that are here, and they will be with you for the next day and a half to help you move through the day. If you have any questions about anything, feel free to ask them. That's what we're here for. I hope I won't forget anybody, but I'm going to start here. We have Kimberly Cornwell, who's in our Career Service Office. Next to her is Jim O'Brien. Next to Jim is Nate Daigle and Sheila Caswell. We're going to take a pause here and thank our program planner for today, Angela Kwan, who's also in the program. We are here. We're going to have a great day because of the hard work that Angela put forth. Ward Belford is here. I see Jackie Jackson in the back. And there's other faculty members. Oh, and Belinda. Belinda, can't forget about you, Belinda, who's also an alum. You're going to meet faculty members that are here, and they will be introduced to you later on as well. But to officially welcome you to our MSJ and Middays, I would like to introduce you to our Dean Brad Hamm. He has a PhD in my major's mass communication research. I'm sorry. Gee, I'm old. Mass communication research. He's been with us now for 2 years, and he receives his PhD from the University of North Carolina. Dean Brad Hamm, please meet the Medill class of 2015.
Thank you. Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, one of the things I was thinking, it's I'm not from Chicago, but it seems to me that the perfect Chicago journalism model is to sort of be in the basement of a pub. I don't know how we arranged that, but it seems to match everything I've ever read about Chicago journalism. So I'm sure we set up a fake bar and do an investigative piece and win a Pulitzer. That'd be even better. So it's good to see you. I'm glad you're here today. When I decided to go off for a master's degree, as I have a twin brother who's a journalist, and the two of us looking around and trying to think of places, and the thing that I think both of us believe now is that the master's degree changed our lives. It really did. I mean, I think fundamentally we loved our undergraduate program, and I went on for a PhD, but that master's degree really was when we felt like we worked closely with faculty on a more even level. It wasn't a lecture model, or it wasn't I'm a beginner model, but this idea of working with talented faculty. And Medill has about, for every one of you we have in this room, we have almost the equivalent number of journalism faculty. So we have a tremendous investment in journalism faculty here. And so I think as I thought about my experience and what mattered so much during that time, I still remember the faculty. I keep up with the faculty. It's been a while, so some of them have passed on. But this idea that I was able to just spend that time and learn from really bright people, and to learn the kinds of questions that you're able to ask, and master's degree is a little bit more individually tailored, rather even within classes that are required, you have the ability to ask more about, I'm interested in this and I'm interested in that, and the ability to match up. I'll talk to all of you in the fall. I meet with and I do a Q&A with every MSJ group. And one of the things we talk about is this ability to tailor it for yourself, and we'll talk about it then, this college of one within this larger university. And the idea that during your time here, you will take certain classes and do certain things, but the ability to think, these are my hopes and dreams, and to be able to match them with opportunities and people who are visiting campus. We have several hundred people coming to Medill every year. Now we're doing luncheons with every visitor who comes to campus, to student luncheons. We have obviously this Grand Chicago program and all of those things. So when I think about Medill, I was at North Carolina, I was at South Carolina, I was the dean at Elon, for some of you know the East Coast program. I was the dean at Indiana University prior to this. And I like a lot of schools. I like a lot of universities. I love the idea that what goes on at a university is, to me, magical in many ways. I mean, it's just, as I travel, I see the alums, and I see we have 15,000 alums, and I visit every major city every year, and a lot of countries, and we see the alums, and it's amazing how many of them say that the time, in this case, the time at Medill, was the time they remember many years later. We had an alum who was in his mid-70s who left Medill, and he became covered in Asia. And he passed away, and he was in Tokyo. And he left half of his estate to Medill. It's going to wind up being 2.5 million or more. And I called his sister, who's in Denver, and I said, why? We appreciate the money, and we're actually using it to help, one of the goals is to help graduate students go abroad during the time here. So we're going to help you on an individual model, class model, other models. You may hear more about that today. But I asked the sister why, and she said, for all of his life, I mean, he just remembered how much Medill had meant to him. And he had never talked to anybody about leaving this money. He just said he believed in two things. He believed in Medill, and he believed in quality journalism. He was going to leave his money to a place where he thought could make that happen. So you would join that community. And so I think one of the strategic advantages, as I look at, all of us have decisions of where we go. And the reason I came here is that I believe what Medill does, it does bigger and better than any place I've ever seen in the world. I traveled to Shanghai and met with the dean of a very famous journalism school in China. And he said, he didn't know me, I didn't know him, but he said during dinner, he stopped and he said, I never imagined I would be able to have dinner with Medill. And it meant that much to him, even that far away. So I believe in certain things about Medill. One is we have an alumni network that is incredible. Every time when I'm on the road, I talk to alums in all of these cities, and I tell them that part of their job is to hire you and to make sure. And so we tell them, we have all of these terrific students here, and we have these terrific alums, and it's time to match them up and to hire them. And I think you'll see that network is powerful. It's unlike anything I've seen at the universities I've been at. It really is. And the kind of support that we have from alums, as many of them obviously are quite famous, but they come back to campus, they'll meet you, they'll take your emails, they'll take your phone calls. They really do make a big difference. And these are alums, if you think of traditional mainstream media, they're there. Obviously, we're at the New York Times, we're at the Washington Post, we're at all the networks, we're at major magazines everywhere. But we're also in Silicon Valley. And we have a tremendous number of journalism and also IMC alums in Silicon Valley. We have a huge presence there. We have a huge presence for people who work around the world, and people who never imagined that they might, in Singapore and Hong Kong, and never left here saying, I'm going to be an international whatever, correspondent, or any of the jobs you can imagine. And they're there. So I think one of the major strengths of this place is that powerful network. The other is, I think, the kind of opportunities that exist. We have a Chicago program. We have an Evanston program. We have a DC program. We also run the only Middle East program in journalism, really, for an American university. We're in Doha, and I'm going to be there next week for their graduation. our graduate students can go and spend a quarter there too on a kind of residency program, your global quarter. There are lots of opportunities, and we're actually building that out. We have initiatives all over the world, and in fact we have partnerships now that we're developing, particularly in Hong Kong and Shanghai, and I'm going to be in Taipei in about 10 days, and we're looking for that too with a company called Next Media. So those kinds of opportunities. We run the only justice project, as you've probably seen, of people who help people on death row or sentenced to long-term crimes. Look it up. In the last week, our students helped a woman who appears to have been unfairly convicted to 20 to 25 years for shaken baby syndrome, even though in her file was a letter that the judge said, upon reading it, existed. Everybody knew it. It existed in her file, and the judge over the last week said no reasonable jury would have convicted this person. It was a journalism project done by Medill. Incredible project. We have a watchdog project. We have projects with immigrants. We have all kinds of amazing programs. So I think the opportunities here are special, and you can begin to sort of tailor your world in that way with amazing experiences. We're running a program. We're taking grad students to Germany this summer for a special project. We're taking them to Israel in September for a special project. We're setting up programs. Again, we have one in Shanghai that we're doing. We're doing those kinds of things. So you might see yourself in those programs, particularly those of you who have never been abroad before. And if that's you, we certainly will help you do that too and show you how that's done. So I think the opportunities are incredible. And then I also think the ability to match with the kind of faculty that we have. I think you'll see as you go through the individual faculty, the kind of experiences they have. And so I would encourage you, I think what we would hope from you as you become part of a Medill community is that you come in absolutely willing to try things that may in the long run benefit you in many ways. For example, if you've never done anything related to certain kinds of journalism, data journalism might not be the first class you check off. And yet, it could be the kind of thing, whether you're in business or sports or global or social justice, or even if you're doing analytics for a Silicon Valley company, those kinds of things might be an ideal class, and we can do that. You can look at the kinds of classes we offer. And so what we would hope from you is that you come in absolutely willing to try different things and put it together in a way that may be unique to you, but is powerful, I think, and helps you achieve your dreams. And that you're also willing to communicate with us regularly of these kinds of opportunities. They may be workshops at other places. We send students and support them for other kinds. We can bring workshops here, and we just did recently the cybersecurity one that we brought here for our students. So those are the kinds of things. This program, in many ways, is flexible in a sense that I did not see at my programs. My programs were fairly rigid. And I'm not talking about classes, I'm talking about sort of opportunities. And I think you'll find in Medill an incredible network of alums willing to look out for you and hire you. Incredible opportunities here in multiple campuses, and the kind of people who can help you make those things possible. My feeling is, and I've always thought this from the time I started teaching, that if you match really bright students with caring and experienced professors, and you have a really quality staff, and you put it together, and then you design these experiences, there's nothing like it. And that's why I think universities are magical, or can be. It's good to see you. I hope that we can help in any way, and you'll hear a lot of people today talk about a lot of different things. But I think as you think about it individually, as my twin brother and I did, the sense that this time spent now will look back, as Samuel Jameson did in Tokyo, telling his sister 50 years later about what it was like at Medill, or people who say that 5 years later. Great to see you. I hope you have a good day, and I'll probably catch you later in the afternoon. Take care.
you. Before we get start talking about curriculum, we're going to start with the big topic first, and that is curriculum. I do want to make some other introduction. To my left here is our Associate Dean and Interim Director, sorry Douglas, I called you Mid-Sip, Douglas Troutman. He signed every admit letter, so you should be quite familiar with his signature. And we also have Rafi Fields, who's our documentarian. Get to know him when you're in Chicago Newsroom. You will see him a lot. And we have Saman and Caitlin there, and Armando, who are our social media folks who are keeping track of our day and sharing it with your fellow colleagues that cannot be here, who are across the world, couldn't make it to a middays, but we're going to post some of these videos in the Facebook group. So even after you leave, you can go back and look at them again. Without further ado, we're going to talk about curriculum. We're going to talk about the broad things. And up front is Janice Castro, who is the director of the Graduate Journalism Program, and Kristen Reed-Solomon. Kristen Reed-Solomon is in our Office of Student Life, and her role here is to get you from orientation to graduation. Those two will get you there from beginning to end. So here's Kristen and Janice.
Thank you, Julie. Yes, we are your dynamic duo. What we wanted to do this morning, we're really happy to see all of you. You're going to have opportunities today to talk to the individual faculty who are expert in different parts of the curriculum, different video, interactive, magazine, etc. But what we wanted to do is just give you a kind of a scan of what the year at Medill would look like for you, and kind of break it down quarter by quarter. So, in your first quarter, we focus on the fundamentals. You'll take a course that covers ethics and the law, the body of law, that sort of defines what you can do and protects a lot of your rights as journalists. And you'll learn the fundamentals of reporting and interviewing, how to develop sources, how to check your facts, how to know what a story is. Is it something that's already been done, or is it something you just discovered, etc. You'll learn news writing techniques, you'll learn multimedia reporting techniques.
And from a student life perspective, we start everyone off with a full day-long orientation in September, about a week before classes begin, to really just get you acclimated to campus and to each other. But because we know that day can be somewhat overwhelming, a lot of information being thrown at you, we do a part 2 orientation about midway through the first quarter to help you learn more about the different concentrations, the classes that will be offered, the different sorts of additional Medill experiences that you can take part in. So we do offer that. Additionally, in the first quarter, we do match every student with a faculty advisor, and this typically is connected to your interests or maybe your initial concentration declaration that you shared with admission. So you really, in conjunction with Janice and I, are working with another faculty member to help guide you through the program. And I would say lastly, we do have a nice amount of opportunities for student involvement and to kind of help you have a great time in your Medill experience. So for instance, at the beginning of the year last year, we had a dinner boat cruise on Lake Michigan to help welcome all of the graduate students to Chicago and to Northwestern and to Medill. And that was also in conjunction with our IMC graduate students. So we really try to do a little bit to help you connect with each other and to help you have a good Medill experience.
Thank you. So the first quarter, as you may have guessed from all the things I listed that you're going to be learning, is very immersive, and it's pretty much a full-time proposition. The second quarter is kind of similar in that sense of you being sort of heavily booked. In the second quarter, the first quarter you'll be in Evanston for those classes. The second quarter you'll be down here, and we'll be going over to the Chicago Newsroom in a little while. Everybody comes down here and focuses on learning more fully reporting techniques and beat techniques and developing sources, learning how to use your multimedia skills. You know, is this story best told in audio? Is this story best told in video? If you're a magazine student, you may want to use some magazine techniques in your reporting. So 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, you'll be doing that. On Monday and Friday, you'll be studying your techniques. So if you're a video student, for example, you'll be learning professional shooting and editing techniques. Or a magazine or interactive student will be learning some interactive techniques, and some story conceptualization techniques, etc. So that's the second quarter, which again is pretty much Monday, Friday, well defined, laid out for you. And you'll have an opportunity at that point. Some of you may want to take an elective. Photojournalism, audio reporting, any number of electives. We have a lot of interactive electives. So you may not be an interactive student, but you want to learn a little bit about that. Thank you.
And as Janice mentioned, because you'll be in Chicago full-time in your second quarter, something that we offer for MSJ students is the CTA U-Pass, which will help you get around Chicago very easily. It's an unlimited pass that you'll have during the quarters to help you get wherever you need to go on the CTA trains or buses. We also, because this is the quarter where you're really getting into your concentration, we offer concentration meetings for the students. So we meet with the students, we just did this yesterday with the students in our second quarter, meet with you, go over what the rest of your requirements are in the program, answer any questions related to the concentration that you might have, go over any special situations or special options that folks have questions about, but really, again, just aimed at helping guide you through the program.
Yeah, what we often find in those conversations, as we did yesterday, is that the students came here, looked at everything we offer, and they wanted to do all of it, or most of it. And now we're talking to them, and they're almost halfway through, and they can't believe it. And now they're really making their firmer decisions about what they're going to do for the rest of their time here. So we will meet with you often. We're also available all the time if you want to come in and check in with us and see. Maybe you should be talking to your academic advisor about something. Maybe you have questions about the best way to navigate something in the program. So consider our doors to be open. So third quarter. In the third quarter, most of you will be in Chicago again because this third quarter is focused primarily on doing advanced work in the area in which you're concentrating. So if you're a video student, for example, you'll be spending 2 full days a week reporting and producing video journalism here. If you're an interactive student, you'll be taking several interactive classes, most of which meet here. It may be sometimes one in Evanston, one here. Magazine students take a couple of magazine classes, one that focuses on writing and one that focuses on developmental editing. And again, they often meet in Evanston, but sometimes they meet in Chicago. And reporting students will be taking advanced reporting classes, sometimes more than one. Sometimes and you'll be taking electives. Again, we encourage you to learn a lot about one technique or style of journalism, but learn something else as well. Because throughout your careers, you're going to be learning new things. Whatever skills we can teach you in terms of technical skills, you'll be learning new ones within 2 or 3 years. So we're going to teach you how to learn, how to teach yourself skills as well.
And in the third quarter, while you're sort of doing your intensive work within your concentrations, undoubtedly you'll be thinking about your final quarter, and your final quarter is your capstone quarter. We're going to talk about that in a second. But in the third quarter, we hold information meetings about those capstones. So what are those options? What do those look like? Some concentrations have multiple capstone options. Some might just have one, but want to know about some of the other ones and any possibilities around being a part of those. So again, we try to connect with you at least each quarter, as you can see, to make sure you feel comfortable about what your next options are. The program moves so fast, so we want to make sure that you know everything you need to know before you're making some decisions. And also, I'll note, if you hadn't contacted or been in contact with our Medill Career Services department already, in your third quarter, we would say you absolutely should be in contact with that office. They are going to help you with all of your career planning needs, and you're going to hear more from them a little bit later on.
You know, this might be a good time, Kristen, to talk a little bit about the Grad Student Advisory Council.
Yeah.
Because we want you to know about the important role that you play at Medill. Beyond being a student, we have a kind of almost a student congress in a way, informally, that we meet with often. You want to talk about that?
Sure. So the advisory council, we meet with a group of students representing all of the different concentrations in each cohort 3 times a quarter to really just check in how our class is going. Are there any joys or challenges that we should know about? Any questions that are rumbling amongst the group? We like to say we like to hear things, whether it's a roar or a whisper amongst the students. So we want to know what's going on. We want to get a pulse on what the big issues or what the big concerns might be. So that's a great group. And also it's expanded this year. We have 2 other teams that have sort of developed as a part of that group. One is around community building, so different events, social events. Some of them are just within Medill, some of them connect with other graduate students at Kellogg or in the graduate school. Other times it's events for students in their specific concentration, so all the magazine students getting together and having a special event. And then we also have a professional development team that works on workshops and attending professional journalism conferences and what that looks like and what those opportunities are. So lots of cool opportunities.
Great stuff.
Yep.
And I see we're getting the warning that our time is almost up, but we want to tell you a little bit about the capstone quarter. So in your 4th quarter, you'll be doing something that kind of pulls together everything you've been learning and pushes you to a new level. It's the sort of the practice alternative of a thesis. So video students may spend the quarter making documentaries, or they may go to Washington. You'll hear more later about our Washington program, but it's a tremendous opportunity. Magazine students may spend the quarter inventing a new publication, whether it's a tablet publication or a print publication or both. Interactive students also do a lot of product development, interactive work. And recording students do a variety of things. Washington is a natural capstone for them, but one of the special projects come up once in a while too. I mean, this summer we're doing a special reporting capstone on 50 years since the Civil Rights Act, and looking at where we are now and what kinds of issues we should be looking at today.
And lastly, 4th quarter is graduation time. Yes. So our Office of Student Life, office I'm with, helps coordinate graduation. So there is a ceremony for graduate students. The highlight is helping all the students put the hoods on at the end and figuring out how that goes. It's an exciting time. So we would send out information about that and any details around that ceremony. And additionally, if students are interested in a 5th quarter option, the 4th quarter will be the time to sort of meet with us or talk with us about what those options are and anything you might need to do to prepare to maybe go on global or participate in the national security program, which you'll hear more about. Exactly. And also, I know Janice and I move quickly, but we are going to be around. We're going to be in the hospitality suite, over in the newsroom. So we'll be there to answer questions. So if you were thinking of something while we were talking, hopefully you wrote it down and will remember it and come and find us, and we'll be happy to talk with you more and answer
Any kind of question you may have.
Yeah. All right, I think I'm going to bring up our next presenter. Welcome, Charles Whitaker.
Thank you, ladies. Good morning. It is great to see all of you, several of you I interviewed, and so it's wonderful to see I closed the deal and was able to get you here. That is wonderful. I am here to talk about our new sports immersion program. As many of you may know, if you did any research about Medill and about the alumni network that Dean Hamm referred to, we for many, many years have been one of the premier producers of sports journalists and communicators in the country. You cannot go to any major sports communications or broadcast outlet without seeing some of our alums, Michael Wilbon, J.A. Adonde, Christine Brennan, Rachel Nichols, Adam Schefter. We did that without the benefit of a sports curriculum, which our alums actually hate. They have actually been on us for years. They sort of felt as though they kind of had to do this on their own outside of Medill and outside of Medill's support. Although we feel that the grounding that they got in journalistic principles certainly got them where they were, they still wanted more institutional support for their goals and desires to become sports communicators and sports journalists. And so, after many years of being on the sidelines, to extend the sports metaphor, we have decided to get in the game and create a sports program for our graduate students. Currently, it is a co-curricular program in that it exists with programming that exists alongside of the traditional program, the traditional curriculum, and I'll explain that in just a minute. But as you enter, we actually will be building and beefing up the actual curricular and course offerings within this concentration. My colleague Craig LeMay, who is in the back there, will be leading that effort. I will be passing the baton to him, and he will be responsible for sort of building out the classes. But we do have classes that exist right now, and I'll tell you a little bit about those. The co-curricular program has enabled us to amass a cohort of students who are interested in sports. We call them the priority members of our sports immersion program. You do apply to be a part of that program. We don't deny anyone, but we ask for some commitment to be a part of the sports immersion program. And once you're a part of that program, we then pair you with a mentor, one of our many, many alums who are working in sports, either in journalism or communications. The priority program exists for both our journalism students as well as our integrated marketing communications students. So we do both people who are working as communications professionals for teams and sporting goods outfits as well as traditional journalists. You are paired with a mentor. That mentor is responsible for remaining in touch with you and sort of guiding you both through this program and beyond, we hope. It is incumbent upon you as a sports priority member. We do put the onus on you to sort of reach out to your mentor, but once you do, we have found that the mentors have been more than willing to help those students who've reached out to them. An example, a current student, Lee Schefter, who was lucky enough to be paired with Adam Schefter. Lee Schefter was paired with Adam Schefter, it just happened, and met with Adam during spring break this time. During the course of their conversation, Adam sort of said, you know what, I got this friend at the Boston Globe. You're really interested. Adam is a magazine student, he does mostly print. Got this friend at the Boston Globe, I want you to talk to him. He connected Lee with his friend at the Globe. Lee went out and interviewed. He's on his second interview now. We're hoping that this job will come through. He graduates in June. So we're hoping that this job will come through by the time he graduates. But those are the kinds of connections that we want to forge between our sports priority members and members at our alumni who are working on the program. In addition, the sports priority members we conduct a variety of having a variety of experiences and trips that we will do with those members. This past winter, we took them all to Washington, D.C. for a sports immersion trip, where again, we went to tapings of Pardon the Interruption and Around the Horn with our alums, Michael Wilbon and Kevin Blackistone and Jay Adande. I got 5 minutes already. Jay Adande. We met with the head of Comcast, the president of Comcast Sports for the Eastern region to sort of talk about what students need to do to prepare themselves for broadcast careers in Comcast and beyond. We met with the chief of public relations for the Wizards. We talked about his interaction with reporters. We met with reporters who were covering the Wizards. We went to a Wizards game in Indiana that night. And we're supposed to go to a Nationals game that got rained out. It's just that time of year. But again, those are the kinds of trips and immersion experiences that we will be creating for this program, that we are in the process of creating and will be continuing with this program as we move forward. In addition, there are classes. I don't want you to think that this is all extracurricular. We have had, it's not all fun and games, we have traditionally had a number of classes in sports. Craig teaches a class in sports and society, which takes a look at the intersection of sports and all sorts of other touchstones in society. We have a sports marketing class. We have traditionally had a sports reporting class that we offer. This quarter, Kristen and Janice talked about capstones. A group of broadcast students wanted to create their own capstones specifically devoted to sports. So they are doing a capstone program in which they are creating a real sports-like program. They are reporting, producing. It will reside on the Medill website someplace. We're still working out where. But they are, and it enables them to build a reel of sports reporting that they can go out and shop around when they are in the job market. We will continue to do that kind of curricular planning, and hopefully we'll have it fully planned by the time that you enter either in summer or fall, certainly by fall, as we build out this program during your time here. we want to offer you, as the dean said, an opportunity for those of you who are passionate about sports and want to pursue that, we want to offer you an opportunity to immerse yourself in that passion from the moment you enter until the moment you leave, while also connecting you to our network of alumni. With that, do we take questions or are we saving those? Who's heading the program? Take a couple questions?
You can take a few questions.
Any questions? If not, I will certainly be around. We can talk more about this. I can tell you some of the other, we have some exciting plans and works for next year. They're not cemented yet, but I think they will all be a lot of fun. We can talk about those at a later date. All right. With that, I will turn the mic over to my colleague Louise Cuban, who will tell you about our social justice program.
Hi and welcome. I hope to welcome you all back in a few months. So first I want to ask you a question. How many of Medill? This is where, as Brad mentioned earlier, a group of reporters at the Chicago Sun-Times opened their own bar so they could catch corrupt city workers in the act. And this is the city where, just last year, This American Life documented the emotional toll of violence in one embattled high school on the city's south side. And this is the journalism program where we really are committed to furthering that legacy of work. You're going to hear later today about two of our specialized programs. One, the Medill Justice Project, where students examine wrongful conviction cases. And secondly, the Medill Watchdog Initiative, where students work alongside professional reporters to far-reaching investigative stories. But I want to talk just a few minutes now about opportunities that we're creating inside and outside the classroom for students who are interested in social justice issues. So if you had been here in the last couple of months, you might have been able to eat dinner and watch the acclaimed documentary, The Interrupters, about violence in Chicago with producer Alex Kotlowitz, who's also a member of the Medill faculty. You might have been able to take part in intensive database and public records reporting training with IRE, the Investigative Reporters and Editors Association. On Tuesday, you could have had lunch with Ruben Castaneda, who is a longtime Washington Post reporter who's working on a book about covering the crack epidemic in Washington, D.C., while he himself was a crack addict. And we're also working on projects within the classroom. In the next week and a half, every student who's interested in social justice issues can now do a short-term immersion in a Chicago neighborhood through our urban reporting seminar. So in a week and a half, our first group of students are going to go out to agencies all over the city and spend some time really looking at issues from the ground up. Our first group of host agencies includes the largest LGBT community center in the Midwest, an agency that resettles refugees and immigrants from all over the world, and a group that works on maternal and child health issues on the city's south side. As I think Janice mentioned, we're launching our first capstone related to social justice issues this summer. That's a class focused on the legacy of the Civil Rights Act, and students in that class will have the opportunity to travel throughout the United States and work alongside professional reporters as well. And finally, one of the centerpieces of our social justice initiative is the Social Justice Reporting Fellowship. That's a competitive program. It pairs Medill graduate students with professional journalists to work on in-depth projects related to social justice. Our first group of fellows includes 8 graduate students and 14 community journalists who come from everywhere from the local public radio station to a Spanish language TV station to a publication for public housing residents. They're working together to produce stories on the impacts of drugs in Chicago neighborhoods, and those are scheduled to publish in June, both on our own website and through a bunch of partner media organizations as well. And so that's just, that's beginning. Like, as Charles said, we're working away on other opportunities and events for you, and I hope that you'll be part of them when you come here. Any questions? No? I'll be around. Look for me. I'm happy to talk about that or anything else. And now I will introduce my colleague, Medill Hopgood, who's going to talk about global.
Hi there, good morning. I am Medill Hopgood. I am a relatively new faculty member. I joined faculty 2 years ago. Before that, I was a correspondent and a magazine writer and a book writer based in Argentina. I've worked in the Midwest as a journalist. I was a Washington correspondent, and it's awesome to be here. I'm listening to all these opportunities, and I'm reminded of how I wish I was a student and I could take part in some of these. But now my job is to make these opportunities available to you. I'm the director of the global initiatives at Medill, and I actually had to bring my phone because there's such a list of global things that you can do if you're interested in any level of global journalism. And what do I mean by that? I don't mean just traveling abroad, which we really want to make available to as many students as possible. I mean doing some of the things that my colleagues just talked about, being immersed in immigrant communities, understanding our global economy and our global community. And we have so many programs that cross over into global and international opportunities. I'll start with the one that you will be able to hear about later, and that is very long running in the graduate program, is our global residency program. Is the 5th quarter, we call it right now, where you will be able to do an internship, a professional internship in media around the world. Anywhere from Hong Kong to London to Cambodia to Uruguay was one place, to Cape Town. It's an amazing opportunity. People are on air, they get clips. It's a great program, and you'll hear more about that from Bill Handy later today. We are also developing many more opportunities both in the curriculum and outside the curriculum. This summer we will send a group of undergrads and grads to Germany to work with a team of students at the University of Hamburg to put together a digital archive of Holocaust survivor stories. And they will travel to Hamburg and Berlin, our students, and then they will work with a team of German students here to collect stories in Chicago. Chicago and Hamburg are sister cities, and so the city of Hamburg is helping us do that. We are also sending a group of students to Israel, to working with the press club there, 2 weeks, and doing exploring different issues in that region. We are, let me see, there's just endless lists of things. We are developing many more opportunities like that. Right now we offer a grant program. It's competitive, but if you have a great international story idea, and propose it to us, you can compete with other graduate students to get a grant to travel and do stories. So we sent a group of graduate doc students to Puerto Rico to do a story about bilingual professionals and that are abandoning Puerto Rico and how that Puerto Rico is coping with that. We're going to send a team of students to Colombia and Bogota to write about migrant worker issues, and another group is going to the Faroe Islands to do Abigail, help me with this. It's the microgrids in the Faroe Islands. A subject I know nothing about, obviously, but we are doing this to help them really get a really great international experience and just to do enterprising reporting internationally. We are also doing lots of things domestically, and here in town, we put together a global calendar, which is a combination of the things that are going on at Northwestern, at the Buffett Center, and some other organizations that offer great speakers and opportunities. Just a sample of some of the things we're going to do in May. Brett Huffman, a professor and a documentary filmmaker, is going to talk about his documentary that he's doing in Afghanistan on saving these Buddha relics. We have Eunice Escobar, an Afro-Colombian activist in Chicago, going to talk about drug trafficking and other issues. Manuel Aristeran is a software developer and crusader for open government in Latin America, and he's a visiting fellow at the Knight Lab, and he's going to talk to us about technology, transparency, and Latin America. And these are some of the things that we're also offering. So those are co-curricular activities that no matter what concentration that you're in, you can take advantage of. And we expect by the time you guys get here that we'll have many more to offer you. So, sure. Questions? Yeah?
Is that global grants are available if you're outside the global concentration?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's no global concentration right now. We do have classes, so we do have the global seminar. Right now, our students that are going to Germany and Israel are taking a seminar that is preparing them for their trip. That's called Oral Histories and Reporting. We have some classes that are global in nature, but really those opportunities are for anybody. So they're documentary students, they're magazine students. It's just doing a really great pitch is the main thing. Others? I'll be around and I'll be all day. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. Thank you. And I guess I will introduce my colleague, Abigail Forster. Oh, I forgot to talk about, so we have to talk about one more thing, sorry. She'll talk about the science journalism immersion, but we do have also in the national security concentration the opportunity to travel abroad and report on international security issues. So last year our students went to Burkina Faso and I believe it was Jordan and wrote about food security for USA Today. So, I mean, the variety, and that's why we're getting so many of them. There's so many opportunities. It's a real value. Global's a real value that permeates much of what we do. So, and here's Abigail.
Thanks, Dave. Good morning. So glad to see you all here, and I'm looking forward to meeting so many of you later and having a chance to talk with those of you that I've already talked with on the phone and via email. I am managing editor of our downtown newsroom, which you'll see later, and which I'll be talking with you more about this afternoon, a place you'll spend a lot of time second quarter. Yes, credentialed reporters with a large client base that operates through the Medill News Service. But we'll talk more about that later. The health and science reporting concentration offers you a way to make critical stories accessible to general audiences. Now I know you're sitting there thinking, well, you know, I'm not too sure about trying to explain nanotechnology to people or other stories, but we work on making those stories accessible. Nanotechnology is involved in everything from, you know, making stronger, lighter airplanes to delivering cancer drugs on search and seize missions so that they go right to the cancer cells and destroy them. And so we work a lot on making that information accessible and on presenting these critical life issues to people. Just yesterday, reporters went out to City Council and covered a committee that unanimously approved a plastic bag ban. Businesses in Chicago package their goods in 8.2 million plastic bags a day. And they're banning those plastic bags for most major retailers. That vote will go to the City Council next week, so we were right there covering it with, with all the other media in town. Another story we covered, undertold story where there was very little media. The first man to be cured of HIV, was in Chicago yesterday, telling his story at an HIV/AIDS Research Council at Northwestern's Feinberg School of Medicine. So we covered that. We also covered a text messaging conference where teens were learning about mental health issues. And this conference was sponsored by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, as well as by Lady Gaga's foundation. You know, what a partnership, huh? So of course we had to cover that, right? So these are just some of the issues we're tackling. We partner a lot across our curriculum. We're working with reporters in our DC newsroom now to do a story that is looking at why the FDA ignored for 40 years its own studies showing how antibiotic resistance from animal feed was being passed on to humans. Obviously, social justice is a natural partnership for us. Think about it. You know, if you look at cancer mortality figures, the poor and the uninsured are dying of cancer at a much greater rate than the rest of us. So what's going on? I mean, you know, there's nothing about poverty or lack of insurance
that makes you more likely to die of cancer, except that you can't afford treatment or screening, right? So social justice comes into play a lot in health and science reporting. For those of you who do want to make the world a better place, and I know a lot of you are going into journalism for just that reason. I'm an alum of Medill, and that's why I went into journalism, and that's why I started reporting on health, environment, and science. We also have a lot of global partnerships and relationships. Maylene mentioned our immersion reporting program. 4 reporters will be Medill Fellows this summer, and they'll embed with science research teams across the world. We're anticipating students going to the Yucatan, where they will, one student last summer went there and was diving into sinkholes and caverns and looking at the way sea levels are rising in the Yucatan on a very fragile coastline, both because of climate change and rampant development. So what she was looking at there, and what we'll look at again this summer, is how both climate change and development are causing sea levels to rise and yet polluting fresh water. And this is a scenario that's being replayed across the world. In China, there are so many ways to look at time machines of climate change, in the caverns, in the rock, in areas that are now arid, that were once fertile crescents. So lots of opportunities for those of you who might apply for these Carnegie grants. The funding comes from the Carnegie Corporation, and we're developing a lot of science curriculum with those grants. Again, you'll learn to make all of those stories accessible in multimedia, to make them exciting narrative stories that people will want to read, want to learn from, want to share with their friends, and will help them make critical decisions about their own lives. Jobs, students in health, environment, science reporting from our program are going on to NPR, the Huffington Post, Science Magazine. They are going to Brookhaven National Laboratory, Argonne National Laboratory, Fermi National Laboratory, really quite a network of health, environment, and science reporters. And all of them would love to talk with you as you go through the program as well. Just to close, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. I'll be here all day. It's a very exciting day for us, and we hope for you. And any questions immediately that you'd like to ask? Yes?
Are you able to actually combine health and science and social justice?
I mean, obviously, there's lots of co-curricular opportunities. So one of our students in health and science was also in social justice, but yeah, there's lots of co-curricular opportunities, and you could certainly talk to Louise more about some of those. Yes, in the back.
Are you able to take, for example, if you're interested in public health, to take classes in outside departments?
Sure. I mean, if you want to take an elective from another department, you can certainly do that. Some of our students have, some of the health and science students have become ISEN Fellows. ISEN is the Initiative for Sustainability and Energy at Northwestern, and the 5 or 6 fellowships across the entire graduate program of the university are awarded each year. And we've had fellows win those awards, and as fellows, they are able to take a 5th quarter of classes across disciplines. So they are able to take classes in the medical school, in the law school, in the engineering school, anywhere they want to look more at environment, energy, and sustainability. But there's lots of other opportunities. We've had students who have, taken music classes or poli-sci classes or other kinds of classes. It would have to be an elective spot, in your curriculum itinerary, and you'd have to work with your advisors on, how to make that happen. But we're all about making things happen for you that you really want to do and that you really want to learn about. Any other questions? Thank you so much, and again, welcome. I'd like to introduce my colleague, Cece Rogers, who's going to tell you about our business reporting program.
Are you still awake? Are your eyes glazing over yet?
they haven't glazed completely, I'll start talking about business and economics reporting, and we can glaze over. How many of you are coming to Medill thinking, I want to be a business reporter? Exactly. And the funny thing about that is that class after class, that is usually the case. And a funny thing happens between now and graduation day is that you discover kind of how fun business and economics reporting can be, and also how important it is to our democracy, to our, obviously our economy. We are in the midst of the greatest economic story of several generations, with a great recession, the worst recession since the Great Depression. We are in the midst of an economic experiment with the Federal Reserve pumping money into the system to the extent not ever seen before. That's the greatest experiment economically, I would say, in this country since FDR, following the Great Depression. So a lot of exciting things happening in the field, and a lot of companies jockeying for position in this new global economy. And the thing is, it affects all of us. It affects us, you know, the old, from Watergate, follow the money. It's really true. And so what ends up happening is many of you will decide to take an introductory business reporting class to say, well, heck, why not? And we will make you wise in the ways of financial statements and income statements and balance sheets and earnings and sales. And you will start to get the idea that this is kind of useful. I think I want to know more about this. And so we'll expose you to some pretty terrific things. Chicago, as Louise was saying, that Chicago is a great place to study social justice. Chicago is a fabulous place to study business and the market, the financial markets. Financial markets are my particular passion. I spent many years working for CNN and for other financial networks, reporting from the Chicago Board of Trade on things like bonds and, and Fed policy, and God help us, federal funds rate. But we have a good time. We go over there and we get to go on the trading floor and we talk to traders. We get to go to places where, I don't know if any of you have heard of high-speed trading, that black box trading where, all the orders come in at once and they, oh, of course you have. Michael Lewis just finished a book, Flash Boys. So when Michael Lewis writes about something, what a wonderful storyteller. People have been writing, there are lots of books on this topic, lots. But Michael Lewis wrote the book, and now it's on the front burner, which is kind of exciting. Anyway, we, in your third quarter, for an advanced business reporting class, we go over to one of the firms in Chicago that does this kind of trading. In fact, in 2 weeks, the class I'm taking over there, they put together these programs, and they will talk about it, how it's gone from high-speed lines to lasers, using lasers to transmit trade. So it's kind of a crazy world, and there's a lot of controversy, and there are a lot of people who think that this is going to be a big threat to our capital markets. So our students right now are kind of on the cutting edge of looking at the next big thing that's going to happen for us in the economy. Of course, it pertains also to this industry. The huge disruption happening in journalism, largely because of technology. And furthermore, they will get a chance to get some really great jobs right after graduation with our wonderful partner in crime, Bloomberg, which has a bureau just across the loop here. And they take us in and they to do trainings with our students, and they have a competitive internship program that is kind of on a rolling basis. So for example, we had 2 students who were there in the fall. One is now full-time. We have 2 students going in the summer, and more in the fall and next winter. And these are terrific opportunities. We also have students who work at the Wall Street Journal over here, in Chicago and in New York and in DC. We have folks at the Financial Times. We have, if you ever turn on CNBC, one of their main anchors in the morning now, Sarah Isaac, went through this program. And also Meg Terrell, who went through this program. She concentrated on business reporting and broadcast. And she's been working at Bloomberg ever since an internship there. And CNBC hired her from text on the air. So it's a really interesting field in terms of job opportunities. Some of our alums have been winning awards left and right this last couple of years. One, Heather Perlberg, this year won several awards: Scripps Howard Award, the Best in Business Sable Award for Wall Street Becomes America's Landlord. And this is about how the housing foreclosure crisis has, and the big price drop in homes has brought in Wall Street investors. And this is something that's happening in Chicago. There's a student this quarter who's really concentrating on this and is hoping to write a longer form piece on this that will ultimately get published. And so I could go on, but I think I should maybe just stop here and see if there are any questions. Have I converted anybody? Okay. Thank you.
I agree with CC. They will be business reporter converts before you know it. I want to thank Mei-Ling and Abigail and Louise and Charles. I would not want to be in you all's seats right now, to have so many options and so many things that you can do in a 4-quarter time. But you can stay for a 5th quarter. Some students have stayed for 6 quarters. But there's so much you can do at Medill. I want you to explore all of those things today and tomorrow, because it is a great place to be at. I'm going to do another quick introduction. Our Associate Dean is here, Craig LeMay. He will speak to you all tomorrow, but I do want to recognize that he is here joining us for majority of the day. But Craig LeMay, feel free to ask him questions as well. Again, we are available to you to ask any questions. Now we're going to leave this space and going to head over to the Chicago newsroom. Some quick notes. We're going to split you up into groups. There's many